In this video lesson, we'll discuss the impact of manifest destiny on the election of 1844. Two major parties nominated their presidential standard-bearers in May of 1844. Ambitious Henry Clay, easily the most popular man in the country, was chosen by the Whigs at Baltimore and the Democrats. The Democrats, meeting in Baltimore later, seemed hopelessly deadlocked. Expansionists, dominated by pro-Texas Southerners, nominated James K. Polk of Tennessee, America's first dark horse or surprise presidential candidate. Polk may have been a dark horse, but he was hardly an unknown or decrepit nag. Speaker of the House of Representatives for 4 years and Governor of Tennessee for 2 terms, he was a determined, industrious, ruthless, and intelligent public servant. Sponsored by Andrew Jackson, Polk was rather implausibly touted by Democrats as yet another young Hickory. Whigs attempted to jeer him into oblivion. The campaign of 1844 was an expression of emotional upsurge known as the manifest destiny. Citizens in the 1840s and 1850s, feeling a sense of mission, believed that God had manifestly destined the American people for a hemispheric career, meaning that it was their destiny to occupy all of the land between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. They would spread their uplifting and ennobling democratic institutions over at least the entire continent and possibly over South America as well. Land greed and ideals, empire and liberty, were thus conveniently conjoined with the manifest destiny. Expansionist Democrats were strongly swayed by the intoxicating spell of manifest destiny and came out in their platform for the reannexation of Texas and for the reoccupation of Oregon, all the way to the 5440 parallel. Outbellowing the Whig log cabinites, they shouted, "All of Oregon or none," and condemned Henry Clay as a corrupt bargainer. The Whigs countered with such slogans as "Hooray for Clay," "Polk, Slavery, and Texas," or "Clay, Union, and Liberty," and spread rumors that Tennessee slaves were branded. On the crucial issue of Texas, Clay appeared to have compromised away the presidency when he wrote a series of confusing letters. They seem to say that while he personally favored annexing slaveholding Texas, he also favored postponement. It was both an appeal to the South and to the North, but he alienated the more ardent anti-slaveryites. Dark Horse Polk beat Henry Clay 170 to 105 electoral votes, which was fairly close. The popular vote had actually been very close. Clay would have won if he had not lost New York by 5,000 votes, and the anti-slavery Liberty Party absorbed nearly 16,000 votes, which could have all gone to Clay. The anti-Texas Liberty Party, by spoiling Clay's chances and helping ensure the election of pro-Texas Polk, hastened the annexation of Texas, and land-hungry Democrats, flushed with victory, proclaimed that they had received a mandate to take Texas. However, it was not a clear-cut mandate, but this unclear mandate was interpreted by President Tyler as a crystal-clear charge to annex Texas. He signed a joint resolution 3 days before leaving the White House after he had completed his term. Young Hickory Polk, unlike old Hickory Jackson, was not an impressive figure, and he took life seriously and drove himself mercilessly into a premature grave. His burdens were increased by an unwillingness to delegate authority. "What he went for, he fetched," wrote a contemporary. He developed a positive 4-point program with remarkable success, achieved it completely in less than 4 years. One of Polk's goals was a lowered tariff. His Secretary of the Treasury, Robert Walker, devised a tariff for revenue bill that reduced the average rates of the tariff of 1842 from about 32% to 25%, with strong support of low-tariff Southern people. Walker lobbied the measure through Congress, but not without complaints by Henry Clay's supporters. The Walker tariff of 1846 proved to be an excellent revenue producer, largely because it was followed by boom times and heavy imports to the United States. A second objective of Polk was restoration of the independent treasury. Unceremoniously dropped by the Whigs in 1841, pro-Brank Whigs in Congress raised a storm of opposition, but victory at last rewarded the president's efforts in 1846. The third and fourth points on Polk's must list were the acquisition of California and settlement of the Oregon dispute. Reoccupation of the whole of Oregon had been promised in the campaign of 1844, but Southern Democrats, once they annexed Texas, rapidly cooled off. Polk had no intention of insisting on the 5440 parallel pledge on his platform. But feeling bound by the three offers of his predecessors to London, he again proposed the compromise line at 49 degrees parallel. The British minister in Washington spurned it. The next move on the Oregon chessboard was up to Britain. Fortunately for peace, the ministry began to experience a change of heart. British anti-expansionists were now persuaded that the Columbia River was not, after all, the St. Lawrence of the West, and that the turbulent American hordes might one day seize the Oregon country and heavy imports to the U.S. So early in 1846, the British came around and themselves proposed the line of the 49th parallel as the boundary, which can be seen here on this map. President Polk threw the decision squarely into the lap of the Senate. The senators speedily accepted the offer and approved the subsequent treaty. The U.S. was then a month deep into a war with Mexico, doubtless influenced the vote and moved it along. Satisfaction with the Oregon settlement among Americans was not unanimous. The northwestern states joined the anti-slavery forces in condemning what they regarded as a base betrayal by the South. Why all of Texas, but not all of Oregon? So Polk, despite all the campaign bluster, got neither 5440 nor a fight, but he did get something in the long run that was better, which was a reasonable compromise without war. We'll talk more about the impact of President Polk's decisions as an expansionist in class. In this video lesson, we'll discuss the